Hi everybody, I'm Greg Fishel. Welcome to bonus weather video number 2 for this week. Doing it one day early, and it's not really an educational video. It's a reminiscent video about an historical weather event that occurred back in 1979. So this would be 42 years ago. Hard as it is for me to say that. But do you remember, by any chance, this particular storm that I'm referring to? And it's the day before President's Day. The storm is known as the President's Day storm of 1979, but when it affected North Carolina was actually the day before that. So this is the list of highs and lows and snowfall at the Raleigh-Durham Airport for a 9-day period from February 14th of 1979 to February 22nd of 1979. You can see that it on Valentine's Day, the high was only 42. Then it was 30 degrees warmer the next day at 72. And then a cooling trend commenced. And by the time we got to Saturday, February 17th, the high was only 37. And then on the 18th, which was a Sunday, the high was only 19 at the airport, and 10.3 inches of snow fell. And the snow barely continued into the 19th. And the next day, the sun was out and temperatures were in the 40s, and by the 22nd, we were back into the mid-60s. So a very, very rapid recovery. Okay, so here are the actual hourly observations from 7 a.m. on the 18th, Sunday the 18th, until 8 o'clock. So the snow started around 7 a.m., the temperature was 14, and the visibility was about 2.5 miles, but then it rapidly picked up. And believe it or not, the entire rest of the day, now this is at the Raleigh-Durham Airport in North Carolina, the temperature in this time period never varied by more than a degree or 2 degrees from 12 to 14 during this entire period. The visibility rapidly decreased to a half a mile from that first hour that the snow started, and then got down to 1/8 of a mile at 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4, 5, and 6. So that's what, 5 consecutive hours of 1/8 mile visibility, heavy snow, and then the snow tapered off so that by the time we got to 8 o'clock, the visibility was about 5 miles. And really from that point forward, it was just a few flakes, a little bit of freezing drizzle, but nothing of any real consequence from that point forward. Now, if we go on ahead and take a look at the satellite imagery, and I really wish that I could share with you more archived satellite imagery and upper air maps. They're just not easily available, at least not that I could find. But this was a visible satellite image taken the morning of February 19th. Now, North Carolina is right in here, and this is the Delmarva Peninsula in here with Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware east of the Chesapeake Bay, which is right there. And then Washington, D.C. would be up in this neck of the woods here. But the storm took on an eye-like feature. It was that intense. And you can see the classic comet-shaped cloud here like this. And the part that got North Carolina actually had nothing to do whatsoever with this storm that eventually exploded off the East Coast. We were actually in what we call the right entrance region of a jet streak in the upper atmosphere, about 25, 30,000 feet up. And that jet streak, and I know the map doesn't extend that in here, but it basically blew from southwest to northeast, and we were in a favorable location with respect to that jet streak, so that it created upward motion, and we got the heavy snow that we did. But the snow tapered off, as it did in many areas Sunday evening, and a lot of people thought it was over. And then this disturbance in the upper atmosphere came along and developed this rapidly developing storm off the mid-Atlantic coast, and that delivered an additional 1 to 2 feet of snow in some of the middle Atlantic regions. So if we take a look at just some of the highlights here, the North Carolina snow had very little to do with this famous storm, as it's known. We were in the right entrance region of an upper-level jet, which provided the upward motion we needed to get the 10 inches that we got. But intense cyclogenesis, and cyclogenesis, if you think about it, cyclone is a low-pressure area, genesis is the beginning, so cyclogenesis means storm development, if you will. It occurred the following morning off the mid-Atlantic coast, and believe it or not, snowfall rates reached 4 to 5 inches per hour. In the Washington, D.C. area for a while that morning, and overall snowfall totals were as high as 3 feet. And I can remember forecasting the weather for a radio station in Baltimore, and I went into the weather observatory about 4 or 5 a.m., and I thought, okay, a couple more hours of snow, and that should do it. And then all of a sudden, we had, snow falling at the rate of, 3 or 4 inches an hour in Baltimore, and they picked up an additional foot just between, I guess, about 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. before things tapered off there. So I was running to the radio booth constantly that morning in between classes, updating that forecast because I really couldn't believe what I was seeing in the observations, but it was all true, and there were the pictures there to prove it later on that day. But again, we were sort of the precursor to the President's Day storm on February 18th here in North Carolina, and then the 19th is actually the day that the storm is known for, and all the heavy snow that day occurred up in the middle Atlantic region. So I hope you found that interesting, and if you're an old fogey like I am, you probably might remember that particular event. And I guess that's about it for now. So you have a wonderful rest of your evening. We'll have another daily weather update for you sometime tomorrow afternoon, and the next bonus weather video will now be next Tuesday, late in the afternoon as well. So, all right, folks, you all take care, and we'll talk to you soon.